February 1st, 2003, was a day of national mourning for America and the world as the Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Learn about the Columbia Space Shuttle crew and its mission. See the events that led up to the tragic accident. Before we watch the story about the Space Shuttle Columbia and its tragic end, let's talk briefly about how to use descriptive language. Good writing incorporates descriptive language. It uses vivid sensory details that capture images, sounds, and scents, and brings them to life. This can include figurative language such as similes and metaphors that will stimulate the imagination of the reader. A story about the Space Shuttle Columbia should use descriptive language that enables you to imagine the scene before liftoff, understand how the astronauts felt in orbit, and sense the importance of the experiments aboard the shuttle. As you watch this short film about the Space Shuttle Columbia's final mission, listen for descriptive language. The Columbia mission brought together 7 brave astronauts to explore a series of groundbreaking scientific experiments. Their experiments ranged from examining cancer cells to fighting fires. These astronauts were about to fulfill their lifelong dreams of going into space and making amazing discoveries about life on Earth. The astronauts were a diverse group of individuals, ranging from a male Israeli fighter pilot to a female American doctor in the military. The crew aboard this microcosm was a mini United Nations. For weeks leading up to the launch, the crew went through intense training sessions, which added to their already aggressive pre-launch schedule. They were one of the best trained crews in NASA's history. The sun peeked through the clouds at Kennedy Space Center in the early morning hours of January 16, 2003. There was a quiet calm in the air and a faint chirping of birds in the distant trees.
Good morning from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This is Space Shuttle Columbia Launch Control. Our countdown for launch of Space Shuttle Columbia on mission STS-107 is continuing on schedule this morning. Launch remains scheduled to occur at 10:39 a.m. Eastern Time, and our launch opportunity window extends for about 2 hours and 30 minutes.
The astronauts were filled with anticipation and excitement as they boarded the space shuttle. Like a well-oiled machine, they buckled their seatbelts, tested gauges, and conducted final run-throughs in preparation for takeoff. Launches are expensive and dangerous events. Breathtaking to watch, there is also great risk involved. Sparks ignited the engines with an intense heat.
15 seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments.
The Columbia Space Shuttle rocketed into the morning sky, and then suddenly was out of sight to the crowd below. When it reached 150,000 feet, it began its free fall into orbit.
Columbia, Houston, Laura, you're loud and clear on air to ground 1.
We're thrilled to be in this beautiful new laboratory and anxious to get going on 16 days just packed full of science from many, many different disciplines. And we're thankful for all the hard work of the Space Hab team.
The astronauts were eager and excited to begin their work. One of the experiments conducted aboard the shuttle was the Advanced Respiratory Monitoring System, or ARMS, developed by the European Space Agency. ARMS was designed to use the legs, arms, and lungs. This experiment was useful in developing treatments for hospital patients who suffer muscle loss from debilitating diseases. Because astronauts suffer muscle loss in microgravity, they were able to compare their findings and apply them to potential treatments. Columbia's experiments will help us to further understand how to fight prostate cancer, reverse osteoporosis, design cancer drugs with fewer side effects, test new firefighting techniques, and reduce pollution-causing emissions. In-flight cameras captured the daily activities aboard Columbia. The actual space aboard the shuttle was small and cramped with minimal room for privacy. The 7 astronauts spent 16 days aboard the shuttle, where they ate, slept, and worked. In their last full day in space, the crew performed final tests of their experiments. The astronauts took turns on the exercise equipment to practice using their arm and leg muscles in preparation for life back on Earth. On February 1, 2003, the Columbia Space Shuttle began its descent back to Earth. As the shuttle approached the Earth's atmosphere, Mission Control lost contact with it. Dismay set in when Ground Control located a trail of smoke in the sky and saw pieces of the shuttle falling in different directions. Mission Control faced the devastating reality that the space shuttle and its crew perished.
Thanks for that, Houston. We're getting 127.
A few days later, crash investigators found an onboard camera with an audio tape intact. The tape recorded the final moments of the crew. These 7 brave astronauts lost their lives, but their legacy and commitment to the science mission will impact the world for years to come. After viewing and listening to the video about Columbia's final mission, what images and feelings did the descriptive language evoke? Were you able to imagine how the astronauts must have felt before the launch? Did you sense the importance of the experiments? Did the descriptive language sufficiently describe the sense of devastation for the people working at ground control? The next time you are asked to write using descriptive language, include vivid sensory details that capture images, sounds, and scents. Use figurative language like similes and metaphors to stimulate the imagination of the reader. Your goal as a writer is to transport your reader with your words.